going to talk about, and Judah's going to channel on male and female. And I've been, yes, okay, Judah's right here, ready to go. So sometimes when I'm getting ready to cross over and channeling, it feels like there's a horse behind a gate at the racetrack. And the horse is snorting and pawing the ground and wanting to open the gate. So we're just going to let Judah jump in. Yes, this vessel has been in quite a high state for the last while. We call this Satori. Sometimes you may call it that, a bliss or nirvana. It is a joy. It is a joy when she drops over into these states. It is like swimming in a very deep and warm pool of goodness. And it is so joyful and not practical by any means, but ever such a reward and a blessing and the culmination of many good things. And so she is not very coherent as a person tonight, so we'll just step in here and begin the work. And we welcome you each and all. If you are in a safe location, please feel free to begin to drop into a deep meditative state, into an alpha state. This is a brainwave state in which you are conscious, you are hearing, and perhaps seeing if your eyes are open. However, your state of being is falling into a daydream like place, similar to the one in which you fall asleep just before sleeping at night, or when you first awake in the morning. And this alpha state is where high levels of consciousness and awakenings happen because the mind is relaxed and the ego is out to lunch, and the spirit, the soul is at ease and is receptive. So please, if you can, drop into this alpha state with us during this time in order to receive. Now, we'll just share a little of this vessel's story when she first began awakening, and she would listen to enlightened beings or enlightened channeled beings, entities such as ourselves, coming through other vessels. Her ego was still so strong and prominent at that time that it was very common for her to fall asleep, because the mind resists the change that spirit can bring. However, it is fine, and it was fine if that happens to you, and it was fine for this vessel, for the messages that we bring have an energetic quality which can bypass the mind and can infect, we will say, for lack of a better word, the body. And so even if one falls asleep, the words, the energy encoded in the words can still be very effective. So if this happens to you tonight or at some other time, just know that there is still an effective work going on in your being, even as you slumber. But this true alpha state we are speaking of is a state in which you remain conscious. This can also be described as a channeling state, which is the state that this vessel is currently in. She is present and conscious for this event and is in a listening and receptive capacity as we speak. Now, let's dive into this courageous topic which the vessel picked. As you can imagine, she receives many different queries, questions, debates, comments, wonderings of the heart, most of them very well intentioned by those who are in an awakening process, coming alive, coming out of sleep and slumber, coming into a realization of who they are and what really is. And so she hears your many questions and queries, And many of your queries come from your, we will say, stuck places, the places where your mind, your perspective, your conditioning or understanding is still sticking you. Like you are like flies at times on the fly paper of the culture. And gender is one of those that has been coming up. And first, we will just say there have been comments such as, what about transgender people? Are you avoiding the topic? Well, we will just say that we are never avoiding any topic, because there's no resistance to us, in us, or around us about any person on the earth. And so if in the past we have not mentioned what you call transgender issues or gender roles and so on, it is only because it is a non-issue for us. And what we mean by that is very simple. When we look at you, my dears, we don't see male, female, or anything in between. We don't see blue, pink, or purple. We don't see you as anywhere on a spectrum, a continuum of gender. We simply see you as the divinity that you are, understanding that to be divine is to be a perfect balance of male and female energies, yin and yang, Shiva and Shakti, light and dark. You see, that is what it is to be divine. And so we do not exist in a dimension of gender. And so that is why we don't typically address the issue, it being a non-issue for us. But what we will say, because this talk is not going to be about gender issues in the context of the culture in which you live, but so it, because it is not, we will simply say this: we love all people at all times. All people at all times. So no matter what anatomy you have, we love you and take you just as you are. We welcome you and receive you as you are. So whatever your 3D, third dimensional, physical bodily form is, we love you as you are. Now, for us, there's no need for you to change anything about the way you are. There's no need for you to change anything about the God-given, we will say, anatomy you came into your existence with. And the choice is always yours. You see, we are going to give to you our trust, that you will treasure your body and make your choices, whatever they may be, according to being led by your heart and your desire to progress towards divinity, you see. And so we respect your choices around your body. And we would say, from our point of view, there's no need that you ever be anything other than what you are. And so we hope that answers the question around this issue. Now, what we want to say about the cultural debate around this issue is simply this: the debate is rank with strife, anger, fear, fear of being victimized by public opinion, fear of being restrained around choices that one might want to make, and so on. And we would simply say we cannot participate in the debate or the argument, because there is no debate or argument from our perspective. As we've taught you very plainly, the choice is always being to love or to fear. We love all and we fear nothing. And so we would encourage you, to the degree possible, that you extract yourself from debate, argument, fears, and wranglings around the topics of gender and gender roles and the masculine and feminine, and simply Mind your own business, meaning take care of your body, take care of your soul and spirit, be what you are, expand into more of your divinity in what you are, not only in your body, but in all realms of who you are, your thought life, your spirit life, and leave others to their own. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Now let us proceed with the topic that we are here to discuss, which is not gender roles or anatomy or perspectives, but masculine and feminine energies. Mhm, 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 mhm. And when we speak of energies, we are speaking of the energies of source and how these operate through both masculine and feminine. Mhm, mhm, mhm. And so you see, God, in God's very essence, the source of all things is the perfect balance of both yin and yang, male and female. And within God, there being no distinction of male and female, yin or yang, simply the perfection of energy. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. However, God decided, in order to experience the glory of what God is, that God would divide itself into two. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Just as the two in the womb, the seed of the male and the egg of the woman, and together the two become one. Well, in reverse, God was one and decided to become two in order to experience himself, herself. And so for many of you, you have been stamped, it has been stamped into your being that God is a man, that God is a predominantly male energy. And this is not because God deems God's self to be such. This is a cultural and deeply conditioned response. And it is primary and primarily a concept of the modern era. The Hindus, however, understood Shiva and Shakti, Shakti the feminine, Shiva the male, and the two together formed the divine. And also the Hebrew and Christian tradition understood El Shaddai was the many-breasted one, the feminine aspect of God, many-breasted, indicating that El Shaddai can succor and nourish and raise up and give life to endless, innumerable souls. And the Shekinah being the spirit of God, the spirit, the Ruach being understood to be the very breath of God. And when the those in this tradition spoke of Shekinah or the Ruach, they would say, use the pronoun she. So she and he, neither of these pronouns. You see, there's big debate about pronouns now. Well, we will say neither pronoun can encompass the characteristics, the very essence of God, as even a word cannot encompass the essence of God. To try to give a pronoun or a name to this is folly. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Hmm. Mm-hmm. So the male and female energies emanate from source. Mm-hmm. And they are beautiful and lovely, the both. And it is the roles and it is the conditioning, and it is the 4D limiting belief systems and structures that are keeping the two in bondage from the harmony and a beautiful creative life force they are meant to be in the together. And you see, listen carefully. We want to say this about romantic relationships. All romantic relationships in the aspect of the culture today are an attempt for the self, whether the self be male or female or otherwise, they are an attempt for the self to balance the spiritual life force energies of Shiva and Shakti in the self. Let us say that a little differently again, because this is important for you to catch. So let's say this woman, for instance, this vessel, being a woman, if she were to be seeking a romantic relationship, it would be because she feels she has yet to have the experience of the manifestation of God, source, essence within her in its completion of male and female, in its completeness of the masculine and feminine energies. And so, lacking this wholeness, this completeness, she will seek outside of herself for a masculine energy to complete her feminine energy. You see? And this is the motivation behind your desire and craving for romantic relationships, be they same sex or otherwise, or heterosexual. You see, even within same sex relationships, there is a masculine and feminine energy. There is one that will tend to bring a more yin and one that will tend to bring a more yang. So all seeking for these romantic relationships is the desire for wholeness, for completeness outside of the self. Mastery is when you begin to understand that you don't need another to complete you. It is your 4D role, your personality, your experience to be primarily yin or feminine, you can find within you the Shiva of God, the masculine energy arising. This vessel experiences that when she channels us. She is very yin as a person. The vessel is feminine. She is motherly, loving, nurturing, gentle. This is her usual way, more natural way of being. When we speak through her, she experiences us as being more masculine, more young, more forceful, powerful, and more action oriented. And in truth, we are simply a part of her. We are the eternal part of her. And so expressing ourselves through her, then there becomes to be more balance within the person, more balance of the yin and yang, Angie, yin, Judah, yang, and the two dancing together in harmony, you see. And so, ladies out there, gentlemen out there, looking for another to complete. Now, don't hear what we're not saying. We're not saying not to seek a partner, because having a partner, a spiritual partner, can be of the highest and noblest spiritual endeavors. Your bhakti, it can help you to experience and lay claim victory over your karma and grow exponentially in the soul in this lifetime. Partnerships with another person, another human soul, have vast capacity for your spiritual growth. So we're not saying to avoid relationship. No, we are not saying that. We are saying, however, that the best and highest relationship, romantic, if you want to call it that relationship, is that in which the one and the other both have come into a balance of yin and yang within themselves. You see, yin and yang balanced female and a yin and yang balanced male, or if it's a same sex relationship, you see. Mhm. And so to become an enlightened being, to become a master, is to have a balance of yin and yang. And so each person within the sound of our voice likely is naturally more yin in their personality, more feminine, or more yang. There are gentlemen who are very gentle and nurturing and tender. They are more yin in the way they present themselves. They are more quiet, more introspective. Mhm. However, even with that natural inclination, that one can draw from the yang in their spirit and be as authoritative as they need be and action oriented. And in the same way, there are women who are more yang oriented. They are active, energetic. They are moving and shaping and creating in their environment, and more extroverted. But that one in mastery will also have a balance of being able to be reflective and meditative and quiet and engage in self inquiry. Mhm, 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 mhm. So, to be a master, to be an enlightened one, is to have the balance of this yin and yang. Now, think about the male anatomy for a moment. In this lovemaking, you see, we're using lovemaking as a metaphor for this spiritual maturity, the ecstasy, the nirvana, the bliss that comes to an enlightened one. We're using lovemaking as a metaphor here. You see, the male energy in this love making, in the making of this essence of love, extends itself out and seeds, extends itself out to seed. And in the lovemaking, the feminine energy is nurturing the seed and welcoming it in, drawing it in. So it's a balance of inward reflection, inward welcoming of all that is, the introspection, and the external seeding of the 3D material reality. And so there's a balance in the master of giving, receiving, giving, receiving. The male energy is giving and the female energy is receiving. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And this is how that you know that you are becoming a master. You are giving and you are receiving. Giving and receiving. And both of these are your delight. Now, there are some enlightened ones who are very receptive. They are pillars in the earth. They are literally pillars of light in which angels and source energy is speaking continually and bringing light energy into their beings, and they are receiving this energy. However, you will find that these ones will come out of their hermetical state, their hiding, so to speak, to give, because they are motivated by love. Mm-hmm, 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 mm-hmm. And so there is a balance there of giving and receiving. So find your balance. Learn to know yourself. Learn to distinguish the true masculine and feminine energy, which is the essence of source energy. Distinguish that from what the culture and conditioning has told you. There are women in society. They are working and they have taken on a facade of a male gender role, and they act, as you would say, you would call them bitches. And they have taken on this egoic role in order to survive in a primarily male dominated young environment. But it is not who they really are. And so, if we are speaking to you, understand that we value your femininity, and the masculine energy of God can arise in you with authority and power, and and express itself through your tenderness, you see. And this tenderness of your true spiritual authority will be indomitable, even in a very male dominated situation. And men, there are many of you who have become driven beyond the innocence and purity of the young boy inside of you, and you long to be more feminine, more loving, more nurturing, more welcoming and receiving. And so allow yourself time and space to be more yin. And one of the things that's coming up for me while we're talking tonight, there's a lot of power in the room. It's really exciting. But this is one of the things I felt Judah saying during that time in the background, is that all these gender wars and male and gender roles and all the agitation around these issues in the culture, I hear Judah's telling me how we can solve that. Are you ready? If we each of us doing our interior work on a personal level begin to live in a balance of male and female, yin and yang, in the marriage of those spiritual energies, that is going to resolve this on the global or on the large corporate collective consciousness, because all the upset and rancor and all of that is surfacing because there is a spiritual imbalance of energies for the most part. There are very few people that have this issue sorted out for them. Yeah, I think you have some more. And so, when you think about in the Hindu tradition, the Shakti was considered the feminine life force. And in the stories of the Hindu tradition, without Shakti, Shiva became a corpse. So the male becomes like a corpse, a spiritual corpse without the feminine energy. And the Shakti, the light is, which is the male, the Shiva, that's the male, it animates action in the world. So I want to read just a few of these little notes that I had because I don't want to miss them. So mastery is where we balance this giving and receiving. The male anatomy giving the seed of life, right? And the female anatomy receiving the life and nurturing and creating the life. So an evolved enlightened being has both of these working in harmony together in the soul. And so they're creating in a high level of consciousness, that's the feminine part, and they're also manifesting it in the 3D reality. So for some of you, if you find yourself, you might find it really easy for yourself to imagine, to meditate, to vision what you want for your future, but you're still not manifesting it. That could be an absence of the male spiritual energy inside of you. So the feminine imagines the story, but the masculine energy writes it down and gets it published. And the feminine energy dreams of the portrait, but the masculine energy actually picks up the paint and the paintbrush and puts it to the canvas. And the feminine energy dreams of the beautiful home that they want, but the masculine energy will gather up the tools and lay the foundation and build the frame and drive in the nails. And so when we integrate these male and feminine spiritual energies inside of ourselves, and both of these energies are the pure essence of God, then that allows us to be the creator of our own reality, that's the feminine, and to manifest it in the material world, that's the masculine energy. And so this is the sign of enlightenment for us. The sign of it is that we have a balance of our inward life and our outward life. Our interior life of meditation, that's the yin, and the exterior life of the doing, the executing. You know, if I hadn't drawn on the yang spiritual energy within me, Chuck and I would still be sitting on the couch tonight, channeling just the two of us, and none of you would be out there, right? So there had to be some action come into play to manifest. Let's see. Oh, I love this. I jotted this down this week. Inside an enlightened woman is a kingly aspect that can give oversight and act authoritatively on behalf of herself and on the behalf of others in their highest good. And this enlightened woman can govern everything that's been entrusted to her, all of the subjects of the kingdom, with kingly wisdom. And inside every enlightened man is a queenly aspect that sees every heart, right? And guides others with love, with compassion, with justice and gentleness, with forgiveness, nurturing, and acceptance. And so in spiritual work, this is really important, listen to this, because there are some of us that get hurt by our beautiful spiritual New Age community. And this is how we get hurt, and this is how we avoid it. In spiritual work, without the feminine energy, the yin, we will hack and hack and hack away at our egoic, fearful parts like a woodsman with an axe. Hack, hack, hack. And we will injure ourselves and others. And without the masculine energy in spiritual work, the yang, we'll just keep on giving our egos a free pass. We'll just we'll just be so nurturing and so loving and so accepting that we just let the ego off the hook, and there'll be no real transformation. So in the integration of our male and female energies, that's where we find the balance between doing and not doing in spiritual work. There's a time to do, and then there's a time to not do. So overall, there's this need for emphasizing not doing. You may hear that a lot in Juda's teaching. And Matsu said, sitting, silently doing nothing, the grass grows all by itself. Why is there an emphasis on this not doing? We hear that a lot in different spiritual teachers out there. Well, it's because our culture is all about do more, be more, have more, work harder, get more education, work longer hours, make more money, you see. So there's so much of that yang that to really kind of get it right, bring things back into balance, we need to have more of that not doing emphasis. And I believe, it's just my opinion, that that's why Lao Tzu said, know the male, but keep to the female. So I don't think he was saying female's better than male. I think he was saying, be aware of the masculine energy, but stick to the female, because we tend to be more dominated in the masculine energies as a culture. So this was one of my favorite things that I jotted down today. I heard Aaron Abke say this, and I love it. It's right on. It just rings so true with my personal experience. The masculine energy wants to serve love, and the feminine energy wants to be love. Thinking again about the male and female anatomy, The male anatomy is reaching out to seed life, to support life, to bring life force energy, to serve love. And the feminine energy is receiving, welcoming all people at all times, welcoming into the womb, the creative womb, and nurturing and creating life. So the feminine wants to be love, the masculine wants to serve love. And imagine how powerful it is when those two things come together in a person and also in a partnership, right? Very powerful. Both things are very powerful. The person coming together in the person and coming together in the partnership.